When you walk through a forest, it feels still, quiet, calm, almost frozen in time. But beneath that silence there's movement. Not the kind you can see, but one you can feel if you slow down enough. Trees are constantly communicating, pulsing with electrical signals, whispering chemical messages through their roots, and sharing nutrients like an invisible internet connecting the entire forest floor. Every leaf, every branch, every patch of moss is tuned into that system. A silent network scientists call the Wood Wide Web. It's wild to think about it. When a tree senses drought, it doesn't just suffer alone. It sends warning signals through underground fungal threads to its neighbours, a kind of early alert system saying, "Prepare, water's running low." In return, other trees might adjust how much water they release, almost like a group chat in slow motion. You can't hear it, but this conversation never stops. And here's the trippy part. When trees are damaged, they actually emit stress signals. Electrical impulses surge through them, faster than we'd ever expect for something we call still. It's a kind of slow electricity, a heartbeat of the forest. The ground under your feet, the air you breathe, even the shade you stand in, it's all alive with connection. The forest is thinking, feeling, reacting. So next time you find yourself surrounded by trees, remember, they're not background scenery. You're standing in the middle of an intelligent, ancient civilization, quietly humming beneath your awareness. Every forest has its memory, not written in pages or carved in stone, but stored deep in the roots. When scientists study old tree networks, they find that roots don't just grow randomly. They follow the paths of their ancestors. They twist through familiar tunnels, connect with old fungal partners, and even reawaken dormant networks from centuries ago. The ground, in a sense, remembers. If you cut down a tree, the roots don't immediately die. Sometimes the surrounding trees keep those roots alive, feeding them sugars through their own underground systems, as if refusing to let their fallen friend go. Entire ghost trees have been found still pulsing underground, leafless, trunkless, but alive thanks to the kindness of their neighbours. That's not survival of the fittest. That's community. And this isn't random generosity either. Older mother trees, as scientists call them, seem to know where their offspring are rooted. They share extra carbon with their seedlings, boosting their chances of surviving harsh conditions. It's like a slow-motion form of parenting that plays out over decades. The forest literally looks out for its young. Think about that for a second. While we see time in days, trees measure it in generations. Their intelligence isn't about speed, it's about patience, the kind of wisdom that can't be rushed. Each ring in their trunk is a memory, each stretch of bark a record of lessons learned through droughts, storms, and seasons. They don't just grow, they learn. So the next time you step into a forest and feel that strange calm wash over you, maybe it's because the ground beneath you is holding centuries of stories, and it's quietly letting you listen. Down where the sunlight never reaches, there's a world more alive than most of us realize. Beneath the soil, under layers of roots and rock, lies the most complex communication system on the planet, a massive network of fungi called mycorrhizae. Think of it like fiber optic cables for trees. These tiny fungal threads link the roots of different species, allowing entire forests to share information, nutrients, and even warnings. When a tree is under attack by pests, it sends out distress chemicals that travel through this underground network. Neighbouring trees read those messages and start producing their own defensive compounds, before the threat even reaches them. It's teamwork on a biological level, an internet built of roots and fungus, powered not by Wi-Fi, but by life itself. And the craziest part? These fungal networks don't just help trees, they benefit too. In exchange for their communication and transport services, the fungi receive sugars made from photosynthesis. It's a trade deal that's been running for hundreds of millions of years. Both sides depend on each other, both thrive because of it. But it's not just function, it's emotion in its own slow way. The network ensures that even the oldest trees towering high above stay connected to the tiniest saplings just starting out. The big ones share more during harsh winters, while the young ones, when strong enough, give back later. The forest balances itself, self-regulating like one giant breathing organism. So when you see a cluster of trees swaying together in the wind, know that they're connected in more ways than one, not just through the air, but through invisible threads that hum with life, carrying stories, warnings, and whispers beneath your feet. You might think leaves just sit there, soaking up sunlight and looking pretty, but they're actually fluent in a language we're only starting to decode. When insects start chewing on their edges, the wounded leaves release bursts of volatile chemicals, airborne distress calls that spread through the forest like an alarm siren. Nearby trees smell these signals and immediately start producing bitter-tasting compounds or toxins to make their leaves less appetizing. It's not instinct, it's strategy. Different trees even send different chemical messages like dialects of a hidden tongue. Acacias in Africa, for example, release ethylene gas when grazed by giraffes. That gas drifts downwind, warning neighbouring acacias to flood their leaves with tannins, making them taste awful before the giraffe can even reach them. It's basically a tree group chat, but with chemistry instead of emojis, and it doesn't stop there. Some species call for backup. They release specific scents that attract predators of the insects eating them, like tiny wasps that swoop in to hunt caterpillars. Imagine getting attacked, and instead of panicking, you call in air support. That's exactly what these trees do. Each leaf on a tree acts like a sensor, constantly translating light, heat, and touch into microchemical signals. When the wind shifts or clouds roll in, the tree adjusts, changing its water use, tilting its leaves for maximum efficiency. It's all part of a continuous conversation with the environment, spoken in a code we're barely learning to understand. So next time a breeze rustles the canopy above you, listen closely. That whispering sound might be more than the wind. It could be an ancient conversation, a quiet exchange between green giants that have been talking long before we ever learned to speak. It sounds wild to say trees might have feelings, but hear me out. They don't have brains or hearts, but they do respond, with precision, to stress, safety, and even comfort. When scientists measured electrical activity inside trees, they found pulse-like signals that rise and fall depending on what's happening around them. A sudden drought, a bite from an insect, a lightning strike miles away. The tree feels it and reacts. When the weather cools and rain returns, those signals slow down, almost like a sigh of relief. Trees open their stomata again, let the water flow back through their veins, and the pulse steadies. It's not emotion in the human sense, but it's definitely a kind of sensitivity, a living awareness that connects every cell from root to leaf. Now imagine this on a massive scale. Thousands of trees syncing these subtle electrical rhythms, forming a bioelectric symphony humming across the forest floor. When one tree changes, others subtly adjust, balancing the collective flow. That's not randomness, That's harmony. Some researchers even believe these electrical waves help coordinate growth, when to shed leaves, when to bloom, when to push roots deeper. The forest acts like a single organism with countless nervous systems intertwining into one. That's intelligence beyond thought, awareness built into the DNA of life itself. And maybe that's why we feel so calm in nature. Our own nervous systems recognize something familiar in that quiet pulse. The same electric life that hums through us hums through them too. It's like a shared heartbeat between humans and trees. Ancient, silent, but deeply understood. Night in the forest isn't silence. It's a different kind of conversation. When the sun drops and the light disappears, trees don't just shut off like machines. They switch into a slower rhythm, one that's all about balance, recovery, and subtle communication. Their stomata, those tiny pores on their leaves, begin to close, conserving water. But underground, their roots light up in activity. The energy shifts downward. That's when they talk the most. At night, trees send sugars and nutrients to their roots, feeding the underground fungal network that keeps the entire ecosystem connected. It's like the forest comes alive in whispers after hours, trading resources and relaying quiet signals that shape the next day's growth. They even release specific chemical scents into the cool air, not for show, but to regulate moisture and warn insects that they're still on guard. What's eerie is that even when isolated, trees pulse faint electrical waves through their roots during the night. It's like they're checking in, sensing space, listening for the faint hum of life around them. And when storms brew or winds shift, that pulse pattern changes. A kind of intuition, a sense of knowing something's coming. Under starlight, a forest is no less awake than it is at noon. You just can't see its movement because it happens on a different clock, the slow rhythm of a being that's existed far longer than us. Every leaf, every root, every cell adjusts in perfect time, waiting for dawn. So if you've ever sat under trees at night and felt that strange, still energy pressing in, that wasn't emptiness. That was the forest breathing, speaking softly in a language older than sound. Every forest has its elders, the massive, ancient trees that tower above the rest. They've seen fires, floods, storms, and seasons beyond counting. These giants, often hundreds of years old, are more than survivors. They're the caretakers of the entire ecosystem. Scientists call them mother trees, and once you understand what they do, the name makes perfect sense. Mother trees anchor the forest. Their roots spread wider and deeper than any others, connecting to thousands of smaller trees through the mycorrhizal network. When sunlight hits their leaves, they photosynthesize more than they need, and then share that extra energy with younger trees shaded beneath them. It's like they're feeding their children. Some even recognize which saplings are their own genetic offspring and prioritize them over unrelated trees. That's not random. That's intentional distribution of life. When danger approaches, a pest, a drought, or even logging, these mother trees send warning signals through the underground network. Their chemical alerts ripple outward like a protective spell, triggering defenses in others. They act like generals, sending out commands to preserve the forest's balance, and when they die, they don't just vanish. Their roots continue feeding nutrients into the soil, nurturing the next generation. Even their fallen trunks become homes for moss, insects, fungi, and eventually new trees. They give back every ounce of life they took. So when you stand in a forest and see one colossal tree standing proudly among the rest, you're not just looking at wood and leaves, you're looking at wisdom, a living archive of everything that's ever happened there. She's been talking, guiding and giving for centuries, and the forest listens. It's a hard thing to accept, but yes, trees feel pain. Not in the emotional, tear-shedding way humans do, but in the language of chemistry and electricity. When a branch breaks or bark gets cut, the tree instantly sends electrical impulses racing through its tissues, similar to how our nerves fire when we get injured. Within seconds, it starts producing defensive hormones, a biochemical scream that says, something's wrong. When insects chew on leaves, that pain turns into strategy. The tree floods the attacked area with bitter compounds, pushing pests away while warning neighbours through airborne chemicals. You can actually measure the stress waves with sensitive instruments, sharp spikes in activity that fade only when the damage stops. It's a silent agony, one that speaks in molecules instead of cries. Even more haunting, if the injury is too severe, the tree isolates the damaged section, cutting off the flow of nutrients to save the rest of itself. It's the botanical version of amputation, brutal but necessary for survival. But it's not all suffering. Trees heal, slowly, patiently, but completely. They grow new tissue to cover scars, send extra sugars to wounded spots, and form knots that protect them from infection. Some trees bear centuries-old scars, proof of resilience, reminders that pain didn't destroy them, it shaped them. So maybe when you see a tree with twisted bark or hollowed wounds, don't just see damage, see survival. See a being that has endured storms, hunger, heat, and cold, yet still stands tall, still breathing, still giving shade. Pain, for trees, isn't an end. It's a teacher. And the forest? It listens, learns, and grows stronger from every wound it feels. Trees are not solitary. Every root, every leaf, every branch is part of a vast interconnected society. Through the fungal network beneath the soil, they share resources, warnings, and even information about the best sunlight or the richest water sources. It's not random generosity, it's survival, intelligence expressed in silence. Some species even practice selective sharing. A tree may send more nutrients to its own offspring or to neighbours that have proven resilient. It's a kind of trust system, maintained over decades, even centuries. Trees remember who helps them and who doesn't, adjusting their support accordingly. It's social behaviour, just in a form slower than we can perceive. And it's not just about nourishment. Trees can warn each other about diseases, pests, or drought. Chemicals released from damaged leaves or roots travel through the fungal network, prompting distant trees to ramp up their defenses. It's as if the forest itself has a memory, a collective intelligence that keeps every member safe. Even more remarkable, some studies suggest that old, wise trees subtly influence the growth patterns of younger trees. They guide seedlings toward better soil, shade, or protection from predators. A gentle mentorship across generations. So when you walk through a forest, realize this. Every tree has stories, lessons, and secrets to share. And if you listen closely enough, in the quiet between the wind and the rustling leaves, you might just hear them. It might sound impossible, but trees have cycles that resemble sleep. During the night, when darkness blankets the forest, trees slow down their growth, redirect energy to their roots, and engage in quiet repair. This is their version of rest, a time to restore what the day has worn away. During this nocturnal phase, the roots become incredibly active, communicating with fungi and neighbouring trees, redistributing nutrients where they're most needed. Leaves adjust, opening and closing their tiny pores in rhythm with humidity and moonlight. It's a subtle dance, invisible to the human eye, yet precise, coordinated, and essential. Some researchers have even noticed that trees exhibit patterns akin to circadian rhythms, biological clocks that anticipate dawn and dusk. They prepare in advance, regulating water flow, hormone production, and chemical signaling. In a way, they're anticipating the future, adjusting their physiology to what's coming next. And though trees don't dream in the human sense, their nightly activity mirrors reflection and preparation. A forest at night is alive with unseen currents, pulsing with decisions made long before the sun rises. It's a form of intelligence and foresight that has allowed trees to survive for millions of years, long before humans even existed. Next time you're under a moonlit canopy, pause and feel it. The forest isn't asleep. It's thinking, resting, repairing, and quietly dreaming, in rhythms slower and wiser than our own. Trees carry history within them. Each ring in a trunk is more than just a measure of age. It's a record of everything the tree has survived. Floods, fires, droughts, pest invasions, and harsh winters. These rings are living archives, storing information that shapes how the tree grows and responds to future challenges. But the memory doesn't stop there. Through the underground fungal network, trees can remember which areas of soil are rich in nutrients or which patches have been ravaged by disease. Older trees often guide younger ones toward fertile soil or away from danger, passing on wisdom silently but effectively. It's a kind of generational knowledge transfer, a legacy written in roots and branches rather than words. Even leaves play a part in memory. They can detect and respond to patterns of light, temperature, and moisture, storing small amounts of information that influence how the tree reacts next season. In this sense, every part of a tree contributes to its understanding of the world, a slow, patient intelligence that humans are only beginning to grasp. Standing in a forest is like stepping into a living library. The trees around you are storytellers, archivists, and guardians of time. Every ring, every knot, every scar is a page in a book that spans centuries, a testament to resilience, memory, and the quiet brilliance of life. In the forest, no tree truly stands alone. When one tree is injured, its neighbours often respond, sharing nutrients through the underground fungal network to help it recover. This cooperative behaviour is not just remarkable, it's a lifeline, a system of mutual aid that ensures the survival of the entire community. Some species can even detect the specific type of injury a tree has suffered. A broken branch triggers different chemical signals than a pest attack, and surrounding trees adjust their support accordingly. It's a silent empathy, a responsiveness that mirrors the concern we associate with sentient beings, but expressed in the language of biology. When trees share resources, they strengthen bonds that can last decades. Young saplings benefit most, often receiving more support from older, wiser trees that have weathered countless storms. The forest essentially nurtures its children, ensuring continuity across generations. Even after a tree dies, its body continues to contribute. Decomposing trunks feed fungi, insects, and soil microbes, and the nutrients eventually reach other trees. In a forest, death is not an end but a transformation, a redistribution of life that strengthens the entire ecosystem. The next time you see a fallen tree, don't view it as lifeless. It's still part of the conversation, still giving, still shaping the intelligence of the forest. The forest heals together, and in doing so, it teaches a lesson about resilience, community, and quiet generosity. Trees speak in a language invisible to our eyes but powerful enough to shape entire ecosystems. When a tree faces stress, whether from insects, drought, or disease, it releases chemical signals through the air and the soil. Neighbouring trees detect these subtle messages and prepare their defences, producing toxins or adjusting water use before the threat reaches them. Even the type of chemical signal matters. Different compounds can indicate the severity of the attack, the kind of pest involved, or the proximity of danger. Trees are essentially broadcasting updates in real time, creating a living alert system that keeps the forest safe. Some species take it a step further. They emit scents that attract predators of the insects eating them, turning their attackers' predators into allies. Others adjust growth patterns in response to signals from their neighbours, ensuring better access to sunlight or water. It's a dynamic, responsive network that operates without sound, sight, or thought as we understand it, yet functions with remarkable precision. And this communication isn't limited to individual species. Trees of different types often share information, creating a cross-species intelligence that benefits the entire forest. The forest is less a collection of separate trees and more a single, conscious organism, exchanging wisdom through chemistry and electricity. So when the leaves tremble or the air carries a faint, sweet or bitter scent, remember, it's not random, it's a message. The trees are talking and the forest is listening. Time for trees is not measured in seconds, minutes or hours, but in seasons, years and generations. Yet, in their own way, trees have a remarkable sense of timing, almost like an internal clock calibrated to the rhythm of nature. They know when to sprout, when to bloom, and when to shed their leaves, all in response to subtle changes in sunlight, temperature, and moisture. Some species can even anticipate changes before they happen. Maple trees, for instance, begin producing chemicals that protect their buds weeks before frost arrives. Oaks sense when spring is arriving and adjust the timing of the leaf growth to avoid late freezes. This preemptive adaptation is a form of intelligence, the ability to read patterns in the environment and prepare for the future. On a grander scale, forests themselves exhibit temporal awareness. Mother trees coordinate with their offspring, ensuring that resources are distributed at the optimal times for growth and survival. When droughts come, older trees conserve water and transfer it to younger ones that are more vulnerable. When rain returns, they absorb and share it efficiently, orchestrating a collective response to seasonal changes. Even daily cycles are followed with precision. Leaves track the sun, opening and closing their stomata to regulate water and energy use. Sap flows in rhythmic pulses, synchronized with light and darkness. In every leaf, branch, and root, time is counted, measured, and respected. A patient, enduring awareness that surpasses human perception. Time for trees is not measured in seconds, minutes, or hours, but in seasons, years, and generations. Yet, in their own way, trees have a remarkable sense of timing, almost like an internal clock calibrated to the rhythm of nature. They know when to sprout, when to bloom, and when to shed their leaves, all in response to subtle changes in sunlight, temperature, and moisture. Some species can even anticipate changes before they happen. Maple trees, for instance, begin producing chemicals that protect their buds weeks before frost arrives. Oaks sense when spring is arriving and adjust the timing of leaf growth to avoid late freezes. This preemptive adaptation is a form of intelligence, the ability to read patterns in the environment and prepare for the future. On a grander scale, forests themselves exhibit temporal awareness. Mother trees coordinate with their offspring, ensuring that resources are distributed at the optimal times for growth and survival. When droughts come, older trees conserve water and transfer it to younger ones that are more vulnerable. When rain returns, they absorb and share it efficiently, orchestrating a collective response to seasonal changes. Even daily cycles are followed with precision. Leaves track the sun, opening and closing their stomata to regulate water and energy use. Sap flows in rhythmic pulses, synchronized with light and darkness. In every leaf, branch and root, time is counted, measured and respected. A patient, enduring awareness that surpasses human perception. And the forest's sense of time stretches far beyond the visible. Underground fungal networks operate on their own slow schedules, transferring nutrients and information with deliberate patience. They store excess energy during abundant seasons and release it during scarcity, ensuring that no tree suffers unnecessarily. Some fungi form partnerships with trees that last for centuries, a quiet testimony to the forest's long-term planning. Seasons pass, storms come and go, yet the trees remain, attuned to cycles we barely notice, prepared for events decades or even centuries in advance. Standing in a forest, you're witnessing more than growth. You're witnessing a living calendar, a slow, meticulous record of past, present and future, ticking away in silent green precision. Time in a forest is not fleeting. It is measured, remembered and respected. Every leaf, root and trunk is a chronometer, a patient testament to the intelligence of life itself. At first glance, trees appear frozen in place, rooted, immobile, unchanging. But the truth is far more fascinating. Trees move constantly, though in ways too slow for our eyes to notice. Leaves tilt towards sunlight, branches bend with the wind, and roots slowly creep through soil in search of nutrients and water. This subtle, ceaseless motion is a silent intelligence in action. Roots don't just anchor the tree, they explore, probe and navigate. They sense obstacles, detect water, and even avoid competing roots from other trees when possible. When a root encounters rich soil or a hidden water pocket, it alters its growth, stretching toward the resource as if guided by instinctive calculation. It's deliberate, adaptive, and precise. Above ground, branches follow the sun, adjusting angles and orientation to maximize photosynthesis. This movement is not random, it's a careful optimization, a negotiation between light, gravity, and the tree's own energy needs. Even flowers open and close in rhythm synchronized with pollinators, ensuring reproduction at the perfect moment. Trees can also respond to mechanical stimuli. A branch bent repeatedly by wind becomes stronger over time. This phenomenon, called thigmomorphogenesis, allows trees to adapt to their environment, preparing for storms or other challenges. They don't move with urgency, but they move with purpose, shaping themselves in response to the world around them. So next time you think of a forest as still, remember, it is alive with slow, intelligent motion. Roots creep like explorers, branches shift like dancers, and leaves tilt like sun-seeking instruments. Trees are never truly still. They're engaged in a quiet, ongoing choreography, a testament to patience, adaptability, and the hidden mobility of life. Trees are silent observers, yet they are listening constantly. Not with ears or brains, but through a complex network of chemical and electrical signals. Vibrations from footsteps, the brushing of wind, the chewing of insects. All these events create micro-changes that travel through the soil and air. Trees detect them, respond, and even prepare for what's coming. Some species can sense the footsteps of herbivores approaching and preemptively produce bitter compounds in their leaves. Others detect nearby falling branches or shifting soil, adjusting root growth to maintain stability. It's a heightened awareness of the environment that operates in subtle, almost imperceptible ways, but with critical impact. Even the sounds of rain or flowing water influence them. Trees adjust stomatal openings and nutrient transport based on moisture levels, anticipating changes in weather. Their leaves, in effect, listen to the world around them and translate vibrations into actionable responses. This sensitivity extends to social listening as well. Trees pick up chemical cues from neighbours under stress, pest attacks, drought or disease, and adjust their defences accordingly. Through this interconnected perception, the forest forms a collective intelligence, a web of sentience spread across species, generations, and centuries. So when you stand quietly among trees, don't assume they are passive. They are attentive, responsive, and deeply aware. They are listening, not just to survive, but to thrive, in harmony with everything around them. Trees are silent observers, yet they are listening constantly, not with ears or brains, but through a complex network of chemical and electrical signals. Vibrations from footsteps, the brushing of wind, the chewing of insects. All these events create micro-changes that travel through the soil and air. Trees detect them, respond, and even prepare for what's coming. Some species can sense the footsteps of herbivores approaching and preemptively produce bitter compounds in their leaves. Others detect nearby falling branches or shifting soil, adjusting root growth to maintain stability. It's a heightened awareness of the environment that operates in subtle, almost imperceptible ways, but with critical impact. Even the sounds of rain or flowing water influence them. Trees adjust stomatal openings and nutrient transport based on moisture levels, anticipating changes in weather. Their leaves, in effect, listen to the world around them and translate vibrations into actionable responses. This sensitivity extends to social listening as well. Trees pick up chemical cues from neighbours under stress, pest attacks, drought, or disease, and adjust their defences accordingly. Through this interconnected perception, the forest forms a collective intelligence, a web of sentience spread across species, generations, and centuries. But the forest's listening goes even deeper. When a tree is cut, its neighbours detect the sudden absence of pressure and movement in the soil, triggering subtle adjustments in root growth and resource distribution. This is the forest maintaining balance, a silent recalibration that ensures survival and continuity. Trees also react to sound vibrations at frequencies humans cannot hear. Experiments have shown that exposing roots to specific vibrations can accelerate growth or even trigger chemical defenses, suggesting that the forest's auditory perception is far more sophisticated than we imagined. And then there's the rhythmic pulse of life itself. Trees sense the ebb and flow of wind, water, and light, timing their movements and chemical releases to match these cycles. They listen not just for danger, but for opportunity, where to grow, when to flower, how to optimize every moment of sunlight and every drop of rain. So when you stand quietly among trees, don't assume they are passive. They are attentive, responsive, and deeply aware. They are listening, not just to survive, but to thrive, in harmony with everything around them, in a way that spans decades, centuries, and the very pulse of life itself. Trees don't have noses, but they possess a remarkable chemical awareness, detecting scents and signals carried through the air. Every smell, the faint trace of a predator, the presence of a pollinator, or the distant waft of smoke can trigger a response. They process these chemical cues, sometimes kilometers away, adjusting growth, defenses, and even reproduction. When a tree is attacked by insects, it releases volatile organic compounds into the air. Neighbouring trees smell this warning and preemptively produce defensive chemicals, creating a protective perimeter without moving a single leaf. Some trees can even differentiate between the types of pests attacking their neighbours, tailoring their chemical response to match the threat. Pollination is another example of olfactory intelligence. Trees release fragrances timed precisely to attract their ideal pollinators, bees, birds, or bats, ensuring reproduction happens efficiently. The scents are signals, an invitation carefully calibrated over centuries of evolution. Smoke, rain, and seasonal changes also carry chemical messages that trees detect. Certain species can sense the approach of a wildfire, stimulating seed release or increasing the production of fire-resistant compounds. Others detect rainfall from miles away through changes in humidity and airborne chemicals, preparing to absorb water and redistribute nutrients. This sense of smell is part of a larger network of intelligence. Trees are constantly reading the chemical world, responding not only to danger, but to opportunity. Their awareness allows them to adapt, thrive, and communicate across distances without ever moving a single branch. So when you walk through a forest and notice subtle fragrances, damp earth, pine, flowers, or smoke, remember, the trees are not passive observers. They are reading the world, reacting, and silently orchestrating survival strategies that have been refined over millennia. Trees are expert meteorologists, though they rely on chemistry and subtle physical cues rather than instruments. They sense changes in humidity, temperature, and light, and they adjust their growth, water use, and chemical defenses accordingly. Over time, these patterns build a kind of memory of local climate conditions, helping trees prepare for seasonal changes and extreme events. For example, some trees can detect the approach of frost weeks before it arrives. They begin producing protective sugars and compounds that prevent cells from freezing, essentially bracing themselves against the cold. Others sense the onset of dry periods and slow their growth, conserving water and sending signals to younger trees to do the same. This is intelligence expressed through preparation, anticipation, and adaptation. Mother trees play a key role here too. Their experience allows them to share information about environmental conditions with the forest around them. Seedlings and saplings benefit from the guidance of older trees, receiving extra nutrients or chemical signals that improve their chances of survival in the face of harsh weather. Trees also record extreme events in their structure. Rings in the trunk reveal years of drought or heavy rainfall, while scars tell stories of lightning strikes and storms. This accumulated information influences how the tree grows in future years, demonstrating a long-term memory that shapes behavior across decades. Even in the underground fungal network, weather memory exists. Fungi store nutrients during abundant seasons and release them strategically during scarcity, creating a shared reservoir that buffers the forest against environmental stress. Trees and fungi working together are constantly reading the sky, anticipating shifts, and coordinating responses. A silent, organic weather station operating on a timescale far beyond human perception. Trees are expert meteorologists, though they rely on chemistry, vibrations, and subtle physical cues rather than instruments. They sense changes in humidity, temperature, light, and even atmospheric pressure, and they adjust their growth, water use, and chemical defenses accordingly. Over time, these patterns build a kind of memory of local climate conditions, helping trees prepare for seasonal changes and extreme events with remarkable precision. For example, some trees can detect the approach of frost weeks before it arrives. They begin producing protective sugars and antifreeze-like compounds that prevent ice crystals from forming inside their cells, essentially bracing themselves against the cold. This preparation is not instinct alone. It's learned over seasons and guided by environmental cues. Other species sense prolonged dry periods and slow their growth, conserving water and sending chemical signals to neighbouring seedlings to do the same. This is intelligence expressed through anticipation, adaptation, and intergenerational communication. Mother trees play a key role here. These ancient guardians of the forest have experienced countless seasonal cycles and extreme weather events. Their roots connect widely to younger trees through the underground fungal network, transferring sugars, nutrients, and chemical signals that help saplings survive droughts, heavy rains, or unusually hot periods. In essence, the wisdom of centuries is shared silently, allowing the forest to act as a coordinated unit rather than as isolated individuals. Trees also record extreme events in their structure. Each growth ring is a diary of the year's climate, revealing droughts, floods, and temperature fluctuations. Scars from lightning, storms, or pest infestations tell stories of survival, forming a layered memory that influences future growth. A tree that has endured repeated storms may grow stronger wood, thicker bark, or roots that spread wider to anchor it more securely. These are not just passive reactions. They are learned adaptations, adjustments informed by past experience. Even the underground fungal networks contribute to weather memory. Fungi store nutrients during abundant seasons and release them strategically during scarcity, forming a shared reservoir that buffers the forest against environmental stress. When rainfall is delayed, these networks send vital resources to trees struggling with drought, ensuring the survival of weaker members. The forest, in this way, behaves like a cooperative organism, constantly monitoring environmental conditions, predicting changes, and distributing resources where they are needed most. Remarkably, trees also respond to distant weather signals. Studies show that some species can detect barometric pressure changes hundreds of miles away, prompting preemptive adjustments in water transport and growth. Roots shift subtly to absorb water more efficiently, leaves adjust stomatal openings to minimize loss, and chemical signals prepare neighboring trees for incoming storms. Trees are, in a very real sense, reading the sky, feeling the wind, and predicting the future. The forest's awareness of weather extends into its entire ecosystem. Animals, fungi, and microbes all respond to the subtle cues provided by trees. Birds may nest in trees that are chemically signaling safe conditions. Insects may be deterred by compounds released during drought. Fungi distribute water and nutrients in response to shifting climate patterns. The forest operates as an integrated system, with trees serving as sentient hubs of information and coordination. Even humans rarely perceive the complexity of this system. We see trees bending in the wind, leaves fluttering in the rain, and branches heavy with snow, but we rarely consider the intelligence required to anticipate, prepare, and communicate across an entire ecosystem. Each tree is not only alive, but is a participant in a network that tracks seasons, predicts threats, and maintains balance over decades or even centuries. So when you walk through a forest and feel the air thick with the scent of damp earth, notice the tilting leaves or the quiet hum of life beneath the soil, remember, the trees are sensing the world. They are measuring, predicting, and preparing, silently, patiently, and with a memory that stretches across generations. The forest is alive in a way that transcends our understanding, a slow, wise intelligence that thrives in harmony with the sky, the soil, and every living being it shelters. In a forest, survival is rarely a solitary endeavour. Trees, through a remarkable network of roots and fungi, actively protect one another. When one tree is attacked by pests or weakened by drought, neighbouring trees respond by sharing resources, sugars, water, and protective chemicals to help stabilise and defend it. This form of communal care ensures that the forest remains resilient, not just a collection of individuals, but a living cooperative society. Mother trees are the linchpins of this protective system. Their vast root networks reach countless younger trees, distributing nutrients and chemical signals to support those in distress. When a sapling is struggling, older trees often send more carbon to it, as if saying, "We've survived long enough to help you thrive." In turn, these saplings may later support the community, creating a cycle of mutual care that spans decades or even centuries. Trees also use chemical signaling as a defensive strategy. When attacked by insects, they release volatile compounds that warn nearby trees to bolster their defenses. Some species even emit scents that attract predators of the pests, effectively calling in reinforcements. This silent communication turns potential devastation into a coordinated response, allowing the forest to protect itself collectively. The protective behaviours of trees extend beyond immediate threats. Some species release substances into the soil to inhibit the growth of competitors, ensuring the survival of allies. Others adjust root growth patterns to stabilise neighbours, preventing soil erosion or the collapse of weaker plants. Even after a tree dies, its decaying body continues to nourish the surrounding community, maintaining the strength and balance of the forest. This interconnected protection isn't random. It's intelligence expressed through chemistry, root systems, and time-tested strategies. Each tree is both a caregiver and a recipient, contributing to a web of life that ensures survival for generations. The forest is, in essence, a self-aware community, silently guarding itself through cooperation, memory, and shared resources. Trees are not just survivors, they are teachers. Through subtle chemical signals, resource sharing, and environmental cues, they guide younger generations in ways that ensure survival, growth, and harmony within the forest. This education is silent, slow, and incredibly effective, passing down wisdom accumulated over centuries. Mother trees play a central role in this instruction. Their roots connect to countless saplings, sending extra nutrients and signaling information about environmental conditions. These chemical messages can instruct young trees on when to grow faster, when to conserve water, or when to bolster defenses against pests. In essence, they are tutoring the next generation in the art of survival, shaping them for challenges decades before they face them. Trees also teach through experience encoded in their own structure. The scars, knots, and growth patterns of older trees serve as lessons in resilience. Saplings growing nearby sense these signals, subtly adjusting their growth patterns to avoid the mistakes or hardships of the past. A tree that survived repeated storms may signal the best way to grow branches or roots to withstand wind. One that endured drought can influence saplings to develop deeper root systems. Even the underground fungal network participates in this education. Nutrients are distributed strategically, sometimes favouring saplings showing the most potential or those in areas most at risk. This teaches the forest which strategies are effective and which paths lead to thriving survival. Over time, the forest becomes a classroom of living strategies, a continuous cycle of learning, adaptation, and preparation. Through these mechanisms, the forest ensures that knowledge is not lost, Every tree contributes to the collective intelligence. Every root and leaf participates in a system of mentorship. Standing among trees is standing in a school of life that has been teaching for millennia, a network where lessons are given, survival skills are passed down, and every tree has the opportunity to learn from its elders. Trees are master adapters, sculpting themselves to the rhythms and pressures of their environment with a precision that rivals any artist. Each branch, leaf, and root is carefully arranged to optimize survival, capturing sunlight, conserving water, resisting pests, and balancing structural integrity. Their adaptability is not random. It is a slow, deliberate form of intelligence expressed through growth. Leaves tilt, twist, and orient themselves to capture the most light possible, while minimizing damage from intense sun or harsh wind. Branches grow in patterns that maximize strength and efficiency, avoiding overcrowding while reaching for sunlight. Roots probe the soil in complex, almost intuitive ways, avoiding rocks, seeking water, and connecting with fungal networks to share resources. Every movement, though imperceptible in the moment, is a calculated adaptation. Trees also respond dynamically to unexpected stress. A broken limb doesn't signal defeat, it triggers compensatory growth elsewhere. Roots will extend toward untapped water sources, and branches may redirect growth to maintain balance and ensure survival. This flexibility is not haphazard, it is strategy. Trees assess conditions, adjust, and continue thriving. Some species can even anticipate environmental pressures. For example, trees in windy regions develop thicker trunks and flexible branches over time, preemptively preparing for storms. Others in fire-prone ecosystems grow fire-resistant bark or store seeds that only release after exposure to heat. Every adaptation is an elegant response, a biological solution to challenges shaped by millennia of evolution. In this sense, the forest is a gallery of living artistry. Each tree is a sculpture shaped by its environment, each leaf a brushstroke in a masterpiece of survival. They are teachers, protectors, and artists, simultaneously creating beauty and strategy with every growing season. Trees may seem rooted and solitary, but they are constantly in contact, through roots, branches, and even the pressure of neighboring plants. Physical touch, combined with chemical and electrical signaling, forms another layer of forest communication, a language invisible to humans but vital to tree survival. Roots interweave beneath the soil, brushing against one another, sensing presence and strength. Through this contact, trees detect which neighbors are thriving and which are struggling. They can alter root growth to avoid competition or to provide support, channeling nutrients to weaker trees or shifting growth patterns to prevent crowding. It's a tactile intelligence, a silent negotiation carried out underground. Above ground, trees also respond to mechanical stress. Branches that collide during windstorms or sway in persistent currents trigger adjustments in growth. This process, called thigmomorphogenesis, allows trees to develop stronger trunks, more flexible branches, or altered leaf patterns to withstand future challenges. Every touch, bend, and sway is measured and remembered. Even interactions with animals fall under this tactile awareness. Grazing by herbivores, brushing by pollinators, or even footsteps near roots trigger electrical and chemical responses, prompting protective measures or resource allocation. Trees feel their environment continuously, adjusting both defensive and supportive strategies based on these subtle cues. This touch-based communication extends into the forest as a whole. Trees influence each other through direct contact, creating a network of resilience. A fallen tree can press against neighbors, providing physical support or shading young saplings. Every touch matters. Every interaction contributes to the intelligence and harmony of the ecosystem. So, the next time you brush past a tree or notice a branch swaying in the wind, remember, the forest is alive in every sense. It listens, reacts, and communicates through touch, forming a living web of connection that stretches across roots, trunks, and leaves. Gravity is one of the most constant forces in a tree's life, and yet they respond to it with astonishing intelligence. Roots know to grow downward, anchoring the tree and seeking water and nutrients, while stems and branches grow upward, reaching for sunlight. This directional awareness, called gravitropism, is a silent demonstration of the tree's ability to perceive and react to forces beyond its immediate control. Roots contain specialized cells called statocytes, which detect gravity and help the plant determine which way is down. When a root hits an obstacle, it doesn't blindly stop. It senses the barrier and redirects growth, finding alternative paths to secure resources. This adaptability ensures survival even in challenging soil conditions, rocky terrain, or crowded environments. Above ground, shoots and branches also follow gravitational cues. When a tree leans due to wind or uneven growth, the wood responds by thickening on the side under stress, correcting balance over time. Branches grow in patterns that maximize light exposure while maintaining stability, and leaves adjust angles not only to sunlight but also to gravitational pull, optimizing photosynthesis. Gravity sensing is not only a mechanical response, it's part of the tree's broader intelligence. By integrating environmental information, light, water, nutrients, and mechanical stress, with gravitational cues, trees navigate their surroundings with remarkable precision. This awareness allows them to survive, thrive, and interact with other members of the forest in ways that appear almost deliberate. Even in forests recovering from storms or landslides, gravity-sensing mechanisms guide regrowth. Trees bend, twist, and redirect roots and branches, reclaiming stability while maintaining access to sunlight and water. It's a quiet, invisible intelligence, showing that trees are not just passive fixtures of the landscape but active participants, reading forces, responding to challenges, and shaping their environment with patient, precise awareness. Sunlight is the lifeblood of trees, and they perceive it with astonishing sensitivity. Leaves aren't just green panels, they are solar sensors, detecting the angle, intensity, and duration of light. This awareness allows trees to optimize photosynthesis, adjust growth patterns, and even anticipate seasonal changes with remarkable precision. Trees use photoreceptors to detect different wavelengths of light. Red and blue light, for example, trigger growth in stems and leaves, while far red light can indicate shading by nearby plants. When a forest becomes crowded, trees sense the light spectrum shifting and respond by growing taller, stretching branches, or reallocating resources to avoid being overshadowed. In this way, they compete and cooperate, balancing personal survival with the health of the community. Leaves also move to track the sun throughout the day. This solar orientation maximizes energy absorption, while minimizing damage from excessive heat or light. Some species adjust leaf angles seasonally, responding to subtle changes in day length, preparing for winter or periods of drought. It's a dynamic form of awareness, where perception drives action, and survival depends on reading the environment accurately. Even at night, trees detect the absence of light. Darkness triggers root activity, chemical signaling, and energy redistribution, effectively preparing the tree for the next day. Photoreception, therefore, is not just about capturing sunlight, It's a crucial element of timing, communication, and coordination within the forest. Through this intricate system of light sensing, trees create a constantly adapting canopy. Each leaf, branch, and stem is aligned to maximize efficiency, contributing to the forest's collective intelligence. Sunlight is more than nourishment. It is information, guiding growth, influencing behavior, and shaping the subtle choreography of life that has allowed forests to thrive for millions of years. Trees are not only aware of their environment, but they also remember their neighbors. Over decades and even centuries, a tree can recognize which plants and trees are around it, adjusting growth, resource sharing, and defense strategies accordingly. This memory of community allows forests to maintain harmony and resilience over generations. Through their roots and fungal networks, trees track which neighbors are cooperative and which are competitive. Saplings growing near friendly trees often receive more nutrients and chemical signals, while aggressive or weak neighbors may be deprioritized. This selective support helps maintain balance in the forest, ensuring that the most resilient individuals thrive while the ecosystem as a whole remains stable. Even chemical conversations are remembered. When a tree releases stress signals due to drought, pests, or physical damage, neighboring trees detect these warnings. Over time, repeated exposure to the same signals allows them to learn, adjusting their own growth and chemical defenses preemptively. Essentially, the forest is forming a long-term database of environmental and social conditions. Trees also show spatial memory above ground. Branches and leaves grow to maximize sunlight exposure without interfering with their neighbors. When a tree loses a branch or is partially shaded, it adapts, redirecting growth to optimize energy capture while respecting the space of surrounding trees. This neighborly memory ensures cooperation, resilience, and adaptation. The forest becomes a living network of sentience, where every tree not only survives but thrives through awareness of its community. Standing in a forest, you're witnessing a centuries-long conversation, a system where every individual remembers, responds, and contributes to the collective intelligence of life. It may surprise you, but trees use electricity to communicate and respond to their environment. Electrical signals, known as action potentials, travel through the tree's tissues much like nerves do in animals. These signals can trigger chemical defenses, adjust water flow, and coordinate responses across the entire organism. When a branch is damaged or a leaf is attacked by insects, electrical impulses race through the tree, alerting distant parts to prepare defenses. Leaves may produce bitter compounds, roots may redirect nutrients, and neighboring trees connected through fungal networks may be primed for potential threats. This electric communication ensures rapid, coordinated action without movement or speech. Some trees even use these signals to detect environmental changes. Sudden temperature shifts, mechanical stress from wind, or touch from animals can generate electrical responses, allowing the tree to react in real time. In essence, trees are wired to sense their surroundings, creating a responsive network of awareness. The electrical signals are subtle, often invisible to human instruments without sensitive equipment, yet they are essential to the tree's survival. They integrate with chemical and mechanical cues, forming a sophisticated system that blends perception, memory, and action. Through this bioelectricity, trees are not passive organisms rooted in place. They are dynamic, responsive, and capable of communicating warnings and coordinating growth with astonishing precision. The forest pulses with these quiet electrical conversations, a hidden web of intelligence flowing through every trunk, branch, and root. Trees may not feel pain as animals do, but they do respond to damage in ways that resemble memory and learning. When a tree is wounded by insect, storms, or human activity, it triggers a cascade of chemical and electrical responses that protect the damaged area and alert other parts of the tree, and sometimes even neighbouring trees. The tree strengthens its defences in the injured region, producing compounds that deter further attack or prevent infection. At the same time, it sends chemical signals through its roots and leaves, warning surrounding trees of potential threats. Repeated damage reinforces these responses, allowing the tree to react more efficiently if similar harm occurs in the future. In this way, the forest collectively remembers past dangers. Interestingly, some trees adjust their growth patterns after injury. A broken branch might redirect energy to healthier limbs, or roots may grow differently to compensate for lost stability. Over time, the tree's structure bears the imprint of these experiences, a living record of survival strategies. This memory of stress is not limited to the individual. Through the fungal network, trees transmit warnings and lessons to neighbours. Younger saplings learn from the experiences of older trees, preemptively strengthening defences and improving resilience. Pain becomes a teacher, shaping growth, communication, and community intelligence. So when you see a scarred trunk or a bent branch, understand that it is more than damage. It is evidence of learning, adaptation, and memory. Trees carry these experiences silently, passing knowledge through generations and creating a forest that is resilient, aware, and remarkably intelligent. Trees live according to the rhythm of the seasons, and over centuries, they develop a remarkable memory of these cycles. They track temperature, sunlight, and rainfall, adjusting growth, flowering, and dormancy to align with environmental patterns. This seasonal intelligence ensures survival and maximizes energy efficiency throughout the year. In spring, trees sense increasing light and warmth, signaling buds to open and leaves to unfurl. In summer, they optimize photosynthesis, adjusting leaf orientation and opening stomata to capture sunlight while conserving water. Autumn triggers chemical changes that produce vibrant foliage, slow metabolism, and prepare for dormancy. Winter calls for conservation, redirecting nutrients to roots and storing energy for the next cycle. But trees remember more than the current season. Their rings, structure, and chemical signals encode the history of past years, droughts, floods, storms, and heat waves. This accumulated seasonal memory allows them to anticipate future challenges. For example, a tree that survived multiple harsh winters may adjust bud development in subsequent years to prevent frost damage. Mother trees play a key role in sharing this wisdom. Through root and fungal networks, they can signal saplings about upcoming seasonal shifts or environmental stresses, helping younger trees prepare for changing conditions. This intergenerational memory ensures that the forest collectively adapts and thrives year after year. Even in mixed species forests, seasonal memory coordinates community responses. Trees of different species may stagger flowering or leafing times to optimize resource use, reduce competition, and maintain ecosystem balance. Each tree contributes to a dynamic seasonal intelligence, creating a living calendar that guides growth, reproduction, and survival across the forest. Standing among these silent giants, you witness more than just cyclical change. You witness a sophisticated system of seasonal memory, one that blends anticipation, adaptation, and shared knowledge to sustain life for centuries. Beneath the forest floor lies a bustling world of microbes, bacteria, fungi, and other tiny organisms, and trees have learned to collaborate with them in ways that amplify intelligence and resilience. Roots release sugars, enzymes, and chemical signals to attract beneficial microbes, which in turn provide nutrients, protect against pathogens, and even help trees communicate with each other. This symbiotic relationship is not random. Certain fungi, known as mycorrhizae, form networks connecting multiple trees, sometimes of different species. Through these underground highways, trees exchange carbon, nitrogen, and other resources, effectively sharing wealth with neighbours who need it most. This cooperation strengthens the forest as a whole, allowing even the youngest or weakest trees to survive. Trees also rely on microbial partners to process environmental stress. During droughts, microbes help roots access water more efficiently. When pests attack, they trigger chemical defenses. The microbes themselves adapt based on signals from the trees, creating a feedback loop where intelligence and response are shared across species. Interestingly, the collaboration extends to memory and learning. Trees teach their microbial partners which areas of soil are rich, which pathogens to suppress, and how to distribute nutrients optimally. In turn, microbes pass these lessons to neighbouring trees, amplifying the forest's collective wisdom. The line between tree and microbe blurs, forming an integrated network of perception, communication, and survival strategy. Through these collaborations, forests become living systems of interdependence. Trees are not isolated organisms, but hubs in a dynamic network of life, where intelligence is distributed across species, generations, and even kingdoms of life. Every root, microbe, and chemical signal contributes to a vast, shared understanding that has allowed forests to endure for millions of years. Some forests live under constant threat of fire, and trees in these ecosystems have developed remarkable strategies to survive and even thrive after flames. Their intelligence is expressed not in foresight alone, but in biochemical preparation, structural adaptation, and coordinated responses that ensure the continuity of the forest. Certain species, like the lodgepole pine, produce serotinous cones that remain sealed until exposed to intense heat. Fire triggers the opening of these cones, releasing seeds onto nutrient-rich ash and creating ideal conditions for regeneration. In this way, fire becomes a partner rather than a threat, and the forest anticipates its arrival with strategies honed over centuries. Trees also produce chemical defenses to resist flames. Thick bark insulates vital tissues, while some release fire-retardant compounds that protect leaves and branches. Underground, root systems remain largely safe from heat, allowing trees to sprout new growth quickly after a fire passes. Even the fungal networks beneath the soil assist in recovery, distributing nutrients to surviving trees and new seedlings. Interestingly, trees seem to communicate the threat of fire through chemical cues. When exposed to smoke or heat, they trigger defensive responses not only in themselves, but in neighbouring trees, preparing the forest as a whole for potential danger. This coordinated, anticipatory behaviour illustrates an intelligence that transcends the individual. Fire-adapted forests demonstrate a profound lesson. Survival is not just about resisting threats, but anticipating and integrating them into the life cycle. Trees prepare, protect, and regenerate in ways that suggest awareness, memory, and collaboration. A forest that does not merely endure, but uses adversity to flourish. Every tree is a living archive, preserving information about its environment in the structure and chemistry of its wood. Rings, density variations, knots and scars all tell a story of droughts survived, storms weathered, pests resisted, and growth patterns adjusted. This wooden memory allows trees to record experiences that influence future growth and even guide younger trees in the forest. Tree rings are perhaps the most famous example. Each ring captures a year of life, reflecting rainfall, temperature, and soil conditions. Wider rings indicate abundant growth. Narrow rings signal harsh conditions. Over centuries, these records form a detailed history of environmental change, a natural chronicle that scientists can read to understand the past. Knots and scars are not just aesthetic features. They indicate areas of damage, disease, or structural adaptation. A branch broken by wind leaves a trace that influences future growth, redistributing weight and strength. Trees learn from these physical events, altering growth to enhance stability and survival. In this way, the wood itself becomes a memory bank, encoding lessons learned over decades or centuries. Even the chemical composition of wood carries information. Tannins, resins, and other compounds reflect past stresses and protective measures. Neighbouring trees can detect some of these chemical cues, using them to adjust defences or growth patterns. The forest, therefore, is a network not only of living tissue but of preserved experience, with each tree contributing to a collective repository of wisdom. In essence, trees store knowledge in their very being. They are living historians, silent archivists of survival, adaptation, and environmental change. Standing before an ancient trunk, you are not just seeing wood, you are glimpsing centuries of intelligence, a testament to resilience, memory, and the deep, enduring intelligence of the natural world. Trees may appear passive, but they are constantly anticipating dangers in their environment. Through a combination of chemical signals, electrical impulses, and social communication with neighbours, trees prepare for threats long before they strike. This anticipatory intelligence allows forests to survive challenges that would devastate less aware organisms. When insects attack a tree, it doesn't simply react, it prepares. Nearby leaves produce bitter compounds or toxins in advance, making themselves less appetizing. Even neighbouring trees connected through fungal networks detect these chemical warnings and begin bolstering their own defences. The forest is, in effect, predicting the next wave of attack and responding preemptively. Trees also anticipate environmental threats like drought, frost, or flooding. Subtle shifts in temperature, humidity, and soil moisture trigger changes in water storage, root growth, and leaf behaviour. Trees adjust their physiology to maximise survival, sometimes weeks or months before the actual event. This forward-thinking response is a silent, patient intelligence that humans are only beginning to understand. Interestingly, some trees can anticipate competition as well. When a neighbouring tree grows aggressively or shades them, they respond by adjusting branch angles, elongating stems, or producing more leaves in exposed areas. This strategic adaptation demonstrates that trees are constantly reading their surroundings and planning growth to maintain both survival and dominance. By anticipating threats, trees reduce risk, optimize resource use, and maintain the stability of the entire forest ecosystem. They do not act randomly. Every chemical release, root adjustment, and leaf movement is part of a long-term strategy. Standing among trees, one witnesses a community of sentient strategists, each anticipating, adapting, and collaborating to survive the challenges of a dynamic, unpredictable world. Trees don't just remember individually, they pass knowledge to future generations through their seeds. Seeds carry more than DNA. They inherit chemical cues and epigenetic information shaped by the parent tree's experiences, including stress, nutrient availability, and environmental pressures. This allows the next generation to start life with lessons already encoded, giving them a survival advantage. For example, a tree that has endured drought may produce seeds that are more resilient to water scarcity. These seeds carry epigenetic markers that prime seedlings to conserve water, develop deeper roots, or optimize leaf function. Similarly, trees exposed to pests may pass on heightened chemical defenses to their offspring, essentially teaching them how to handle threats before they even germinate. The timing and dispersal of seeds also reflect wisdom. Some trees release seeds only under certain conditions, after rainfall, following fire, or during specific seasons, ensuring that new life has the best chance to survive. Seed dispersal methods, whether through wind, animals, or gravity, are carefully calibrated to maximize growth opportunities and avoid overcrowding or competition. Even in mixed-species forests, trees influence neighboring seedlings through shared fungal networks, transferring nutrients, and signaling environmental conditions. This creates a web of inherited and communal knowledge, ensuring that not just one tree, but an entire ecosystem retains memory and adapts over generations. In this way, trees extend their intelligence beyond their own lifespan. Memory, experience, and resilience are encoded, shared, and passed down, making each new generation wiser than the last. The forest becomes a living archive, a continuum of awareness, adaptation, and survival strategies that stretches across centuries. While trees do not have ears, they are surprisingly sensitive to vibrations and sounds in their environment. These acoustic cues allow them to detect potential dangers, monitor nearby activity, and even communicate with other trees in subtle ways that are only beginning to be understood. When wind rustles through leaves or branches, trees respond by strengthening their stems and adjusting growth patterns to resist mechanical stress. They can sense vibrations caused by approaching herbivores or falling objects and respond chemically or structurally to mitigate damage. Some studies even suggest that roots can detect vibrations in the soil caused by insects or water flow, prompting adaptive responses to optimize survival. Trees also emit vibrations themselves. Certain species release ultrasonic signals through root systems or leaves when under attack, effectively warning neighboring trees of threats such as insect infestation or physical damage. These signals travel through soil or plant tissue, creating a silent network of alert and defense that operates continuously beneath the forest canopy. Beyond defense, sound and vibration may play a role in growth coordination. Trees in dense forests adjust branch angles, leaf orientation, and root growth in response to subtle environmental vibrations, ensuring that each tree maximizes sunlight capture and nutrient absorption while minimizing competition with neighbors. In essence, the forest is alive with a symphony of imperceptible signals. Trees sense, respond, and communicate using sound and vibration, forming a hidden language that supports survival, coordination, and the intelligence of the collective ecosystem. What appears to us as quiet and still is actually a dynamic world of listening, reacting, and collaborating, all conducted in frequencies beyond human perception. Water is life, but for trees, finding it is both art and science. They don't simply grow roots and hope for rain. They actively sense moisture levels in the soil and strategically navigate toward water sources, even when buried deep or spread unevenly. Through a combination of chemical sensing, root pressure detection, and electrical signals, trees can detect gradients of moisture in soil, guiding their roots to areas of highest water availability. This is an intelligence that operates slowly yet persistently, ensuring survival across years of variable rainfall. Roots are the primary sensors in this underground navigation, specialized cells detect water content and nutrients, allowing roots to elongate toward richer soil and avoid dry or nutrient-poor areas. When obstacles like rocks, compacted soil, or other roots appear, trees don't blindly push through. They sense resistance, change growth direction, and optimize energy use. In crowded forests, this root intelligence is essential, not only for the individual tree but for maintaining forest balance. Trees must navigate around neighbors while ensuring they acquire enough resources to survive. Above ground, trees also respond to water availability in sophisticated ways. Leaf orientation, stomatal opening, and even leaf size are adjusted based on moisture levels. During dry periods, leaves may curl, reduce transpiration, or temporarily slow growth to conserve water. Trees can redistribute stored water internally, moving it from roots to leaves or branches as needed. Some species even store water in specialized tissues, creating a reservoir that allows survival through extended droughts. Communication about water availability extends to the wider forest. Trees connected through mycorrhizal fungi exchange chemical cues about soil moisture. If one tree is experiencing drought stress, it may signal neighboring trees to adjust their own water usage or send resources to saplings in need. This cooperative strategy demonstrates that water navigation isn't just an individual skill, it's a networked intelligence. Trees collectively manage a shared resource to maintain ecosystem stability. Certain species can detect water beyond their immediate surroundings, almost anticipating seasonal changes. In semi-arid regions, roots may grow deep over decades to access hidden aquifers, while shallow roots exploit temporary surface moisture. This dual strategy ensures survival in unpredictable climates, reflecting a long-term understanding of environmental cycles. Water navigation is also linked to survival and reproduction. Trees with more efficient water-sensing abilities produce healthier seeds, support offspring better, and maintain structural integrity during environmental stress. In this way, the intelligence of water navigation is preserved across generations. Standing in a forest, it's easy to take trees for granted, yet every root, branch, and leaf represents decades, sometimes centuries, of water management strategy. Trees continuously sense, adapt, and share information about one of the most critical elements of life. They are master navigators, engineers, and silent strategists, orchestrating a complex web of survival beneath the soil and above it. This invisible intelligence allows forests to thrive even in extreme conditions, demonstrating that trees are not passive, but dynamic participants in an ongoing hydrological ballet. In a dense forest, survival is a delicate balance of competition and cooperation. Trees must secure sunlight, water, and nutrients without destabilizing the community that supports them. Their competition is far from reckless. It is strategic, measured, and informed by decades, sometimes centuries, of experience encoded in their structures, chemicals, and networks. Above ground, trees compete for sunlight with careful precision. Branches grow in patterns that maximize light capture, while minimizing interference with neighbors. Leaves adjust angles and orientations daily, following the sun and avoiding unnecessary shading of surrounding trees. Unlike animals that fight for territory aggressively, trees compete in ways that are more sophisticated. They observe, sense, and adapt. A tree that overshoots and dominates its neighbor may inadvertently weaken the forest network, which could threaten long-term survival. Below ground, competition is just as intelligent. Roots detect chemical signatures of neighboring plants. If a competitor is nearby, the tree may alter root growth patterns to avoid conflict or may release allelopathic compounds to limit the growth of weaker species. Yet, trees do not compete blindly. Some species prioritize cooperation with supportive neighbors, sharing nutrients through mycorrhizal networks. This selective strategy strengthens alliances while ensuring the survival of the strongest and most resilient individuals. Trees also adjust competition according to environmental conditions. During droughts, for example, they may temporarily scale back aggressive root growth or leaf production, conserving energy while waiting for more favorable conditions. This ability to delay gratification and balance short-term needs with long-term survival is a form of intelligence rarely observed in animals. Competition extends to reproduction as well. Trees adjust flowering and seeding cycles to reduce overlap with rivals, ensuring that pollination and seed dispersal are maximized. Even seed dispersal mechanisms, whether wind, animals, or gravity, are adapted strategically to minimize conflict and maximize the chances of survival for the next generation. In essence, trees compete wisely. They are patient, observant, and strategic, balancing self-interest with ecosystem stability. Forests are arenas of silent negotiation, where every branch, leaf, and root acts in calculated ways. What might appear to humans as passive growth is actually a constant intelligent dance, a negotiation of resources, space, and survival that ensures the forest endures for centuries. In a way that defies what we usually call memory, trees hold the history of their entire lives within their bodies. Every ring, every scar, every knot in their bark is a record, not just of age, but of experience. If you slice through a tree's trunk, you're reading a biography written in wood. The wider rings tell of wet, abundant years. The thinner, darker ones whisper of drought. Some rings even show the shadow of distant disasters, volcanic ash from centuries ago, nuclear fallout, lightning strikes, or passing insects that never left a mark on the surface, yet etched their existence deep within the grain. But it's not only physical memory that trees carry. Scientists have found that trees can remember stress, drought, heat, or injury in ways that influence their future reactions. When a tree survives a brutal season without water, it doesn't forget. It alters the way its genes respond to similar challenges later. The next time the soil dries, the tree closes its stomata faster, preserves its moisture longer, and sends different chemical signals to its leaves and roots. It has learned, adapted, remembered. What's even more fascinating is that this memory can be shared. When a mother tree experiences stress, her seedlings may inherit that heightened awareness, even if they grow in gentler conditions. Through epigenetic memory, chemical markers that regulate gene activity, trees can pass survival knowledge down generations. In a forest where one generation has suffered, the next grows stronger. In this sense, memory becomes a networked intelligence, an archive not of single minds, but of collective resilience. The forest itself remembers. It recalls fires that raged through centuries ago, pathogens that swept across entire species, and cold spells that froze the ground for decades. Its reaction to the future is guided by the ghosts of the past, encoded in the living tissue of every branch and root. Standing in a forest is like walking through time. Every tree is both ancient and current, living in the present while carrying messages from centuries gone by. Their bark holds fossilized lightning scars. Their roots intertwine with those of their ancestors, and the soil hums with microbial DNA that's older than recorded human history. We're surrounded by memory, not written in ink but in cellulose and carbon. It makes you think, Maybe intelligence isn't about neurons or thought. Maybe it's about persistence, about the ability to remember, respond, and reshape oneself around time. Trees don't think like us, but they remember in ways we've only begun to understand. The next time you lean against a tree, feel its surface. Every texture, every groove, every bump is a note in a centuries-long symphony of memory. It's not just wood, it's the living history of Earth, still breathing, still learning, still remembering. Trees are more than solitary organisms. They are the architects, regulators, and quiet orchestrators of entire ecosystems. Their intelligence is subtle, measured, and woven into every layer of the forest, above the soil, within it, and sometimes stretching miles through interconnected root and fungal networks. Every tree is both an individual and a participant in a larger, intricate system that balances life in ways humans are only beginning to comprehend. Above ground, trees influence sunlight, air, and climate. Branches are arranged not just for the tree's own photosynthesis, but often in a way that maximizes light distribution among neighbors. Leaves release chemical compounds that regulate interactions with insects, prevent overconsumption by herbivores, and even influence rainfall patterns locally through transpiration. When one tree grows tall and wide, it does not do so recklessly. It adjusts subtly to maintain harmony with surrounding trees, ensuring that light reaches multiple layers of the forest canopy. Even the way branches sway in the wind can protect weaker saplings from mechanical stress, creating a microclimate that nurtures the next generation. Below ground, the story grows even more remarkable. Roots form complex networks intertwined with fungal mycelium, a system scientists call the wood wide web. These underground highways allow trees to exchange nutrients, water, and even chemical warnings. A tree facing drought can send a silent SOS through these fungal networks, prompting neighbors to redistribute resources or slow growth to conserve water. Saplings, which are often weaker and more vulnerable, receive extra support from older trees. In this way, the forest collectively manages its resources, maintaining balance through cooperation and shared intelligence. The networks also allow trees to detect threats, like invading pathogens or insect infestations, and coordinate a response that protects both themselves and their community. Trees play a crucial role in regulating soil health as well. Roots aerate the earth, preventing compaction, while decaying leaves enrich the soil with organic matter, creating a living matrix that sustains fungi, microbes, and countless invertebrates. By moderating water flow, they reduce erosion, retain nutrients, and stabilize the land. This is especially vital in hilly or flood-prone regions, where trees act as natural engineers, controlling water distribution and maintaining the integrity of the terrain. Every leaf that falls and every root that extends is a contribution to ecosystem equilibrium. Even disturbances like storms, floods, fires, or human activity are integrated into this balance. Certain species have evolved to thrive after disruption, releasing seeds when the canopy opens, or sprouting new growth from roots or stumps. Trees anticipate and adapt to chaos. They create conditions for regeneration that favor not just survival, but long-term health and resilience of the forest. After a fire, ashen-rich soil becomes fertile, and certain trees release seeds only in response to heat, ensuring that new growth has optimal conditions. This demonstrates an intelligence that understands destruction as part of renewal, chaos as a teacher rather than a threat. The intelligence of trees extends to their relationships with animals as well. By producing fruits, nectar, and seeds in synchrony with animal feeding patterns, trees ensure pollination and seed dispersal while supporting ecosystem food webs. Birds, insects, mammals, and even humans depend on trees' timing and abundance. In turn, trees adjust chemical signals, leaf palatability, and flowering cycles to maximize survival while maintaining balance in these interdependent relationships. This intelligence is multi-layered. Trees sense, respond, and communicate, not only to survive individually, but to maintain a living balance that benefits the community. They allocate light, share water, distribute nutrients, and coordinate growth with neighbors. Each tree is an agent of balance, but the forest as a whole operates as a collective intelligence system that sustains life in interdependent harmony. Standing in a forest, one can almost feel this invisible equilibrium, a rhythm that orchestrates species, nutrients, water, and sunlight. Trees act as both guardians and regulators, balancing the needs of individuals with the stability of the community. In the quiet, deliberate intelligence of trees, we see the blueprint of sustainability, patience, and enduring cooperation, a reminder that life thrives not through chaos, but through measured, interconnected harmony. The forest, in its silent complexity, is a living classroom. It teaches humans about foresight, patience, cooperation, and resilience. Each tree is a silent teacher, demonstrating strategies that have worked for millennia. Every branch, root, and leaf is a lesson in how life can survive, thrive, and maintain balance. The intelligence of trees may not be visible to the naked eye, but it is deeply present in the interconnectedness of life itself. In studying them, we begin to understand not only forests but the fundamental principles of life, community, and enduring sustainability. Time flows differently for trees. Unlike humans, who measure it in seconds, minutes, and years, trees experience time as cycles, seasonal, lunar, and multi-year. Their sense of time is encoded in every cell, every bud, and every branch. They read the sun's angle, the length of daylight, the subtleties of temperature, and even the whisper of wind, using these cues to orchestrate growth, reproduction, and survival strategies that span decades and centuries. Leaves unfurl in spring not at random, but in response to precise photoreceptors that detect day length. Buds break in coordination with soil temperature and moisture, ensuring that the tree's most vulnerable tissues emerge when the environment is optimal. Flowers bloom with the rhythm of pollinators. Seeds ripen to coincide with animal feeding and migration patterns. Trees anticipate rather than react. Their timing is a prelude, a quiet preparation for what is coming, whether it's frost, drought, or a surge of sunlight. But trees do more than respond to annual cycles. They remember long-term patterns. Rings in the trunk record droughts, floods, fires, and pest invasions, a living archive of environmental history. These lessons influence future growth. A tree that endured a decade-long drought may grow deeper roots, develop thicker bark, or adjust leaf orientation in anticipation of similar stress. This temporal intelligence is both reactive and proactive, merging memory with real-time sensing to create sophisticated strategies that ensure survival. Mother trees extend this temporal wisdom to younger generations. Through root networks and fungal connections, they transmit chemical signals that help seedlings align with seasonal rhythms and environmental cues. Saplings inherit more than nutrients. They inherit timing, a sense of when to grow, when to flower, and when to conserve energy. The forest becomes a continuum of temporal intelligence, a lineage of life finely attuned to the rhythm of the planet. Even on the scale of centuries, trees exhibit foresight. Some species live long enough to anticipate patterns in climate cycles, using their experience to optimize reproduction and growth across generations. They do not simply react to immediate threats, they plan and adjust for survival far into the future. In this sense, forests themselves become temporal libraries, storing knowledge of environmental trends across lifetimes, preserving strategies for resilience and adaptability. To stand among these giants is to feel the weight of time in a way humans rarely perceive. Every scar, ring, and bud is a record, a marker, a message. Trees teach us patience, reminding us that life unfolds slowly, deliberately, and with foresight. They show that intelligence is not always rapid or visible. Sometimes it is the quiet ability to sense, remember, anticipate, and align with the rhythms of existence. In their slow, deliberate awareness, trees reveal a mastery of time far beyond human comprehension, a silent, centuries-long understanding that governs the survival of life itself. Trees are not merely living beings, they are silent mentors, historians, strategists, and philosophers. Their intelligence is different from ours, not based on brains or speech, but on observation, memory, adaptation, and cooperation. The forest is alive with lessons that have endured for millennia, lessons about resilience, patience, foresight, and the delicate balance of life. Through their branches, roots, and chemical signals, trees anticipate threats, share resources, and maintain harmony across their communities. They integrate countless environmental factors, light, water, nutrients, neighboring trees, and even animal behaviors, into strategies that ensure survival for themselves and the broader ecosystem. This distributed intelligence operates on scales both large and small, shaping forests, regulating ecosystems, and supporting countless species without a single moment of hesitation. Trees embody resilience in its purest form. When fire sweeps through, some species release seeds triggered by heat. When storms break limbs, new growth emerges from roots or stumps. When drought threatens, they conserve water, communicate with neighbors, and protect offspring. Each scar, knot, or ring in a tree is a lesson learned, a record of survival strategies adapted over centuries. Trees do not merely react, they anticipate, prepare, and adjust, creating an ongoing legacy of wisdom passed down through generations. Beyond survival, trees teach humans about interconnectedness. They demonstrate that life thrives not through isolated competition, but through cooperation, resource sharing, and balance. They remind us that patience is intelligence, that slow growth and observation often yield more than rapid action, and that resilience comes from adaptation and community. Walking through a forest is like entering a living classroom, where every root, leaf, and branch conveys a story of survival, collaboration, and environmental mastery. Trees also inspire creativity, reflection, and mindfulness. Their quiet persistence encourages humans to slow down, notice patterns, and respect the natural world. They teach that intelligence is not always measured by speed or complexity, but by the ability to observe, adapt, endure, and coexist. In watching the slow dance of sunlight on leaves, the way branches sway in response to wind, or the careful spread of roots underground, one begins to understand intelligence as patience, observation, and foresight. Ultimately, trees challenge our understanding of life itself. They operate on timescales far beyond human comprehension, plan for generations, and maintain ecosystems with a grace that defies words. They remind us that true intelligence can be quiet, cooperative, and profoundly effective. By observing and learning from trees, humanity can gain insight into patience, resilience, foresight, and the intricate wisdom of life itself. Forests are not simply collections of trees. They are living libraries of intelligence, guardians of survival, and teachers of enduring wisdom. There is a quiet language in forests, one that humans rarely hear but can feel if they pause and listen. Trees whisper to each other in chemical signals, in vibrations that ripple through roots, and in subtle shifts of shade and light. It is not a language of words but of intention, survival, and guidance, a network of communication honed over centuries. In this way, the forest itself is alive, each tree a node in a vast invisible network of intelligence. Chemical whispers travel through the soil, carried by fungal networks that connect the roots of neighbours. When a tree is threatened by drought, pests, or disease, it sends signals that alter the behaviour of surrounding trees. Leaves may toughen, growth may slow, roots may dig deeper, or resources may shift to support those in need. In essence, the forest anticipates danger collectively, ensuring that each individual's response is amplified by the wisdom of the community. Above ground, trees respond to the slightest movements in the wind, the arrival of clouds, or the approach of animals. Leaves adjust angles, branches shift subtly, and buds may delay opening to protect themselves and the surrounding network. Even the timing of flowering can be influenced by the status of nearby trees, creating a delicate choreography of life and survival. These whispers are both protective and instructive, a networked awareness that ensures balance and resilience. Trees also share with the next generation. Saplings, often vulnerable to environmental extremes, receive chemical and nutrient cues from older trees, giving them a head start in survival. It is as if the forest carries memory not just within individuals, but across generations, passing along lessons in silent, unbroken streams. The whispers of trees are not random. They are informed, deliberate, and profoundly intelligent. To stand quietly in a forest is to feel these subtle messages. The air seems thicker, the ground hums faintly, and the interplay of light and shadow tells stories that humans cannot fully read but can sense. Every rustle of leaves, every swaying branch, every drop of dew becomes part of a narrative of connection, cooperation, and survival. The forest communicates not for attention, but for harmony, ensuring that life continues, quietly, endlessly, and beautifully. These whispers remind us that intelligence does not require voice or motion. Awareness can be measured in patience, in anticipation, in the subtle influence of one life upon another. Trees teach that understanding is not always loud or immediate. It is slow, deliberate, and networked. And as you walk or lie beneath the canopy, breathe deeply. Let the soft intelligence of the forest envelop you, and allow these whispers to lull your mind into peace. Let the trees guide you into stillness, into reflection, into quiet wonder. Even when the wind is still, the forest seems alive with breath. Trees inhale carbon dioxide and exhale oxygen, not in a rush, but in a slow, steady rhythm that sustains every creature around them. Mosses, ferns, and tiny plants beneath the canopy participate in this quiet respiration, creating a collective heartbeat of life. Every leaf, every branch, every hidden root contributes to a subtle exchange of gases, water, and energy. Standing among them, you can almost sense the pulse of the forest, a rhythm so gentle yet so persistent. It reminds us that life continues quietly, with patience, and without hurry. The forest breathes, and in its breath we find calm, connection, and a sense of belonging. And now, as you settle down and let your mind wander through these silent forests, imagine the gentle sway of branches, the soft whisper of leaves, and the calm, enduring presence of the trees around you. Let your thoughts drift like sunlight through the canopy, letting your body relax and your mind grow still. Rest easy, breathe deeply, and let the quiet intelligence of the forest lull you into a peaceful sleep. Good night.